So far this year, we have lost David Bowie, Brian Bedford, Alan Rickman, Dan Haggerty, Glenn Frey, Frank Armitage, Abe Vigoda, Terry Wogan, Otis Clay, Harper Lee, George Martin, Keith Emerson, Eugene Borowitz, Peggy Anderson, Gary Shandling, Patty Duke, William Craig, Eric Webster, Dave Mirra, Ronnie Corbett, Megan Laura, Prince, Billy Paul, Nick Lashaway, Nick Menza, Michu Mizaros, and Muhammad Ali. Monica Loera, Jasmine Sierra, Maya Young, Candice Johnson, and Shantae Thompson are just some of the transgender women who have been stabbed and shot to death in the US, along with over 30 unarmed black, Hispanic, and white people shot dead by the police. Iraq, Somalia, Syria, and Pakistan have suffered some of the worst bombings, shootings, executions, and massacres in history. In March, over 32 people were killed in the Brussels bombings. Last week, 42 people lost their lives in Istanbul's airport. Just yesterday, 165 people were killed in the biggest single bomb attack in Iraq since 2007. Here in the UK, MP Joe Cox was shot and stabbed to death by a political fanatic. We lost one of our own, Christina Grimmie, who got her start on YouTube, shot dead at a concert in Orlando, on the same ridiculous weekend that 49 people were shot dead at Pulse. And in a scene ripped straight from a Final Destination movie, Anton Yelchin gets crushed to death by his own car. It seems lately like 1 in 5 notifications that comes to my phone is something terrible that I don't want to hear about. And it feels like, at least in the realms of shootings and terrorist attacks, that every one is the new biggest one yet. Like, remember how after Avatar came out, like every film that came out was the biggest grossing blockbuster of all time? It feels like that, but with shootings. It may be an age thing, it may be to do with technology, but it feels like these things are happening at a higher frequency and louder, and they're closer. Scrolling through lists, researching for this video, I see the hundreds of bombings and shootings and executions that happen every day in countries that I haven't visited, and I get the twinge of guilt, knowing that it only really affects you when it hits you where you live, and when it happens nearby, in towns you know, on streets you know, when people who work in the same industry as you can be shot dead in a safe place, when people close to you lose childhood friends in bombings, then it starts to register. I try to be a hopeful person when it comes to the future, and believe that humanity more or less are moving in the right direction. That even though there are problems, we are still moving in the right direction. But when the cacophony gets too loud, and I sit in silence to try and collect my thoughts, I find myself asking questions like, how long can a population, even one that believes in pacifism, go on feeling hunted before they rise up and hit back? And when's it going to be one of my friends? I've always tried to not let things get to me. I try and understand what's within my control and without, and know the difference. And no matter how bad the news gets, even when it concerns big population areas and metropolitan cities like the one I live in, I don't let it affect me. I'm not going to let it get in the way of me living my life, me having fun and seeing my friends. I'm going to use trains, I'm going to use buses, I'm going to go to concerts, I'm going to go shopping. And no matter how hysterical the world might seem, I'm going to check it at the door. I had never even considered that I could ever be a person with that kind of disposition that would let things affect them like that. And I'm still not. But for the first time, like the mountain climber who reaches the plateau and can finally see all the way to where the land meets the sea and understands the scale of everything beneath him, I can see it on the horizon. For the first time in my life, I can conceive of a point where fear might get in the way. And that worries me. And I don't have any answers, I don't have any advice for you. I just get the feeling that I'm not alone. I said it now, I needed to get it out of my system, and I would appreciate hearing your stories and your advice to me, to anyone who feels this way, in the comments below.